All right, welcome back to Left Brain Artist. I have an experiment that we're going to try today. So I've taken three colors: Simply Acrylic Brilliant Red, Liquitex Basics Cadmium Yellow Medium Hue, and Liquitex Basics Mars Black. What we're going to test today is the paint to pouring medium ratio, how it affects how the paint pours and how the paint dries. So how much color do you get when you change the ratio of paint to paint medium? So what I've done, this is A, which is average, M, which is more paint, L, which is less paint. So what I've done is I've taken a pouring medium that is 75% Elmer's glue all, 25% water. And I have used, in my average, it's 2 to 1. So my average right now is 17 grams of paint to 33 grams of pouring medium for a total of 50 grams. For my less paint, I'm using 8 grams of paint and 42 grams of pouring medium. For my more paint, I'm using half and half. So 25 grams of paint, 25 grams of pouring medium. Now, one thing I'm not doing here is I'm not worried about the texture of the paint. So obviously, because I have more paint and less pouring medium here, this is going to be thicker, this is going to be thinner, and this is going to be kind of the consistency I normally get. I don't want to have multiple adjustments to our experiment. So right now I'm just experimenting with the painting to pouring medium ratio. And we are just going to pour each one. One, see how the colors look when they're on the canvas done there. And the second thing we're going to look at is once it dries, we'll take another picture and see how the colors look once they're dried with the different more, average, and less color. So first of all, we're going to start with the average. So again, this is the 1 part paint to 2 parts pouring medium. Just a little piece of interest, this is the less, this is the average, and this is the more. You kind of expect the less to mix more and the more to mix less, just because the paint's so much thicker, it's not going to mix as much. So then, I mean, obviously the yellow and the red are starting to come up through the black here. It is happening a little bit here also. And here, I'm afraid this one's going to crack because it's too thick. But it's got some interesting things happening with the yellow and black mixing to look kind of greenish, which is very interesting. So we'll see how these dry, and I will bring you back for that next. All right, we're back. It's been about 24 hours since I painted these. They are all dry to the touch. They won't be fully cured for another 7 to 14 days, probably closer to 7 for a canvas this small. So we want to go over some of the things that I've seen with the experiment. So again, this is 8 parts paint, 42 parts, or 8 grams of paint and 42 grams of pouring medium. This is 17 grams of paint and 33 grams of pouring medium, about a 1:2 ratio, which is my normal. This is a half and half, 25 grams of paint, 25 grams of pouring medium. And that's for each of the colors. So each of the colors is that much. So a couple of things that we noticed. First, the sheen. I know it's kind of hard to see in this this setting here, but the one with the least amount of, or the least amount of paint has the most sheen of the three. This one has the most sheen, this one has right in the middle, and this one has the least sheen. And I'm assuming that's because the glue-all that I used as the pouring medium gives, when it's really thick, it gives a, not a super sheen, kind of like a semi-gloss sheen. So this one had the most, so it obviously is going to be have the most sheen. Another thing is drying times. The thick paint dried about 1/3 faster than the wet paint. This one just barely in the last hour or so really got soft or dry to the touch on top. So this one took, I don't know, about 16 hours. This one took about 24, and this one was right in between for drying time. Again, that's just dry to the touch, not cured. Cured will be a little bit longer. The next thing is bubbles. The very thick paint had tons and tons of bubbles that didn't come out with a normal torching. To get these bubbles out, I would have had to go one by one with a needle or something and pop them. But you can actually see, I'm gonna pull this up. You can probably see the little bubbles. It's not just bubbles of paint, it's actually holes in the paint that have formed. So these ones here aren't really holes in the paint, it's just bubbles of paint. These ones here, almost all of these, you can feel the texture and feel that there's a hole there. You don't really want that in paintings, because if you hang it up without putting something over the top, then dust and stuff gets in there. The next is the black. You can obviously see black took over on the item that just had a little bit of paint and a lot of pouring medium. The black really just dominated everything. A little less so in the 50-50. And on this one, again, you can see how the red was starting to come through in quite a bit more than in either of these for there. So the colors, the thicker they are, the more the colors, or the less the colors will mix, which is one thing. So the last thing is the cells. So on this painting, which is really wet, I'm gonna kind of pull it off my thing here. I know it's probably hard to see here, is it just has veining everywhere. So it was really cool, but it's really hard to see with this kind of color. And then the middle of the road kind of has these big, these are the cells that I like, kind of lacy cells that have some definition to them so you can see them more on the background. And then last but not least, let's show this one again. This one just has those little bubble cells and not much else. These were drips of paint that I got as I was pulling it off. So that was one thing that was quite interesting to me. The other thing, as you can see, I haven't done this a lot, put yellow and black together, but it does turn to green if it's mixed, especially if the black is underneath. The yellow is semi-transparent, so it's just showing that through, and that's making it look more green than otherwise. Obviously I don't like, well, I don't know, obviously I don't like the color mixture that I have here, but it was good to learn, you know, a couple of these things. I like to experiment on this channel, and that's kind of what I plan on doing week after week, is anytime I have a question about, well, why does it do this? Let's make an experiment and figure out and learn together. So one last thing, the cups here, this is the very liquid, or the heavy pouring medium cup that it also got dominated by black. This one's beautiful. This is the one that got the middle of the road, 2 parts pouring medium, 1 part paint. And then the red finally dominated in the very thick paint. The black didn't take over here, which was quite interesting. So that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed that, and next week we'll find another experiment to do, and we will see you guys later.